Have you ever felt like your best days are behind you? Like the dreams you once had are now just memories, buried under years of responsibility and routine? If you have, then listen closely to the story of George. Because George learned something at 60 years old that most people never learn in a lifetime. He learned that it's never too late to begin again, even when everyone around you is laughing. George was 60 years old. He had worked at the same printing press for 37 years, same machine, same smell of ink, same gray walls. Every morning, he would wake up at 5, drink his tea, and catch the same bus to the same building. And then one Friday, the manager called him into the office. "George," he said, "we're shutting down the press. I'm sorry. You're being let go." Just like that. 37 years, gone. George walked home that evening in a daze. He sat in his old armchair and stared at the wall for hours. His wife brought him tea. He didn't touch it. His daughter called. He didn't pick up. He kept thinking, what am I now? Who am I now? For 37 years, he was a printer. That was his identity. That was his purpose. And now, in one sentence, it was all taken away. The next few weeks were heavy. George would wake up, make tea, and just sit. He watched television shows he didn't care about. He walked around the neighborhood, but his feet felt heavy. His heart felt heavier. His friends said, "George, relax, you're 60, enjoy life, take a break." His children said, "Dad, you've worked enough, let us take care of you now. Let us take care of you now." But George didn't want to be taken care of. He didn't want to just sit and wait for the years to pass. Something inside him was restless. Something was still hungry. One afternoon, George was cleaning the attic. Dust floating in the sunlight, old boxes everywhere. And in the corner, covered in cobwebs, he found something, a violin case. He opened it slowly. Inside was a violin he hadn't touched in over 40 years. When George was a young man, before the factory, before the marriage, before the children, before life happened, he had dreamed of being a musician. He used to play for hours. He used to dream of standing on a stage. But dreams don't pay bills, so he packed away the violin and picked up a factory job, and he never looked back, until now. George lifted the violin out of the case. The strings were rusted. The wood was dusty. But when he held it, something stirred inside him. A memory, a feeling, a ghost of the boy he used to be. He tried to play a note. It sounded terrible, scratchy, out of tune. He laughed at himself, but then he tried again. And again. His wife heard the noise from downstairs. She came up and saw him sitting there, trying to play, tears running down his cheeks. "George," she said softly, "what are you doing?" He looked at her and said, "I'm trying to remember who I was." The next week, George did something that terrified him. He put on his best shirt, took a deep breath, and walked into a small music school downtown. A young woman at the front desk looked at him. "Sir, can I help you?" George cleared his throat. I want to learn violin again." The woman blinked. "Sir, our students are mostly children and teenagers." George nodded. "I know, but I'm not here for them. I'm here for me." The first day of class was humiliating. George walked into a room full of 8-year-olds. They all turned and stared at him. Some giggled. One boy whispered loudly, "Look, a grandpa." The teacher, a young woman half his age, smiled politely. "Please, have a seat, sir." George sat on the tiny chair meant for a child. His knees almost touched his chin. The children laughed. George's face burned red. He wanted to leave. He wanted to run away and never come back, but then the teacher raised her violin and said, "Okay, everyone, let's begin," and George stayed. Those first months were brutal. George's fingers were old and stiff. They wouldn't move the way he wanted. The notes came out wrong, scratchy, painful to hear. The children in class progressed faster than him, much faster. Some nights, George sat in his room and wanted to cry. His fingers ached. His pride was bruised. He thought, maybe they're right. Maybe I'm too old. Maybe this is foolish. But every morning, he picked up the violin again. He practiced scales for hours. He practiced until his fingers bled. He practiced until his wife begged him to stop. "Why are you doing this to yourself?" she asked one night. George looked at her and said, "Because when I play, even badly, I feel alive. I haven't felt alive in 40 years. Shh." Months passed, then a year, then 2 years. Slowly, something changed. George's fingers started remembering. The notes began to sound like music, not perfect music, not concert music, but real music. One evening, he played a simple folk song for his wife. When he finished, she was crying. "George," she whispered, "that was beautiful." And for the first time in 2 years, George believed he was doing the right thing. 3 years after he started, George's teacher asked him to perform at a small community talent show. George was terrified. His hand shook. His heart pounded. But he agreed. The night of the show, he walked onto a tiny stage in front of maybe 50 people. Neighbors, friends, his wife in the front row. And in the audience, some of those same people who had laughed at him 3 years ago. He raised his violin. He closed his eyes, and he played. He played a simple melody. Nothing fancy, nothing complicated, but he played it with his whole heart. Every note carried the weight of 40 lost years. Every note carried the joy of being found again. When he finished, the room was silent for a moment, and then applause. Loud, warm, genuine applause. His wife was standing, clapping, tears streaming down her face. His neighbors were smiling. Even the people who had laughed were nodding with respect. George lowered his violin, and for the first time in his life, he felt like a musician. After the show, an old man came up to George. He was maybe 80 years old, using a cane. He took George's hand and said, "Young man, you inspired me today." George laughed. "Young man? I'm 63. The old man smiled. "Son, when you're my age, 63 is very young. And starting something new at 63, that's the bravest thing I've ever seen." That night, George understood something important. Life doesn't end at 40, or 50, or 60. It ends when you stop wanting. It ends when you stop trying. It ends when you let the laughter of others silence the voice inside you. George didn't become a famous violinist. He didn't play in concert halls, but that wasn't the point. The point was he found himself again. He proved to himself that he was still alive, still capable, still worthy of a dream. So, my friend, listen to me carefully. Maybe you're 30 and feel like you've wasted your 20s. Maybe you're 40 and feel stuck in a job you hate. Maybe you're 50 and think your best years are behind you. Maybe you're 60 and wonder if it's too late to start over. Look at George. He was 60, alone, afraid and surrounded by laughter, but he picked up his violin anyway. He sat in that tiny chair anyway. He played those scratchy notes anyway. And 3 years later, he stood on a stage and felt the joy of a dream fulfilled. It's never too late. Never. The question isn't, will I succeed? The question is, will I try? Because regret is heavier than any failure. And a dream delayed is not a dream denied. It's just waiting for you to be ready. Shh, tough. George still plays every day. He's not perfect, he never will be, but he's alive, truly alive. And every time he lifts that bow, he remembers the lesson that changed his life. It doesn't matter how old you are, it matters how willing you are. So go ahead, pick up your violin. Whatever it is, whatever your dream is, it's waiting for you, and it's never too late to begin again. Timp, thank you for listening. If George's story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it today.